Hi, my name is Don Russo. It's Sunday evening, June 23rd. This week on Thursday night, you're going to hear the Biden versus Trump debate, the first, perhaps the only presidential debate for this year. I hope there's a lot more, but we'll see. I think one of the issues that's going to come up, given some of the issues that are being bandied about right now, is the weaponization of government. We know that Donald Trump has been indicted, 93 times, 4 different actions. He was recently convicted in Manhattan and the Judge Merchan trial with Alvin Bragg. And Jim Jordan is chairing the Weaponization of Government Committee. And they've sent out subpoenas. They want to talk to Bragg. They want to talk to Michael Colangelo. I don't know about Lisa Monaco, and most of the talk is whether or not Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, Michael Colangelo, Lisa Monaco have attempted to politicize the 2024 race by bringing charges against President Trump. We know there's been information about Nathan Wade, Fani Willis going to Washington to discuss these matters with White House officials. I think Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, may have consulted with the White House. All these matters are under investigation by the Weaponization of Government Committee chaired by Jim Jordan. I think one thing that has been missing, and I'm really surprised, I've been doing some research on this. There's a law called the Hatch Act. You've all probably have heard it before. It was used a lot during President Trump's administration. It's a 1939 law that was put in place by a New Mexico Democrat, Carl Hatch. He was a conservative Democrat, didn't get along very well with FDR, didn't like Harry Hopkins and the Works Project administration, the WPA of the 1930s during the Depression, creating public works around the country. He said that in the 1938 congressional race, federal employees were getting involved in local political races involving WPA funds and WPA offices. And my research indicated that President Roosevelt did not want to sign this, but he finally did sign it in August of 1939, right before it was ready to expire. So it is the law of the land. It's been amended several times. Interestingly enough, it was used sparsely throughout the 1940s and 1950s, not a lot of times. It got a little bit more attention when George W. Bush got in office. There were a couple of charges in 2007, but it really got active when President Trump was sworn into office in January of 2017. Kellyanne Conway was charged on several occasions. I think a couple of charges against House senior counselor, or President Trump's senior counselor, Kellyanne Conway, were filed against her in 2017, and then others in 2018. One in particular led to a finding by the Office of Special Counsel that Kellyanne Conway had violated the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act, the primary provisions are found in Title V, United States Code 7324. A letter was issued to President Trump by Henry J. Kerner, a lawyer for the Office of Special Counsel, June 13th, 2019, accusing and finding Kellyanne Conway of having violated the Hatch Act in a number of ways. Kellyanne Conway is loquacious, she's acerbic, she's witty, she has a way of talking that can be pretty direct, and she does attack Democrats. She was making some charges about when once 2019, when Joe Biden announced his candidacy for president, she called him creepy Uncle Joe. She talked about the Obama-Biden economic policies, and she also made fun of New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, said he had a tinny motivational speaking voice, and that when he talked, he sounded like a Hallmark card. She made fun of Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, for her famous Native American alleged ancestry. And she made fun of Beto O'Rourke for not liking the women who were running for president. I don't know exactly what she meant about Beto O'Rourke, but she commented on him. She talked about all the Democratic candidates running for president in 2000, beginning in 2019. She called them wood chips, and she said something like anything times zero equals zero, referring to them being a bunch of zeros. And if you multiply that out, you still had a bunch of zeros. The candidates were zeros. So this was campaign talk. This was the kind of campaign talk that they didn't like it because she was a White House employee. Now, here's my point. The Hatch Act was used effectively against President Trump. The Hatch Act doesn't really contain teeth, and they can warn you, they can ultimately force or argue that you should leave your office, be removed from your office. Kellyanne Conway was never removed from her office due to the Hatch Act, but it's still, you have to answer it. It's a legal accusation, and it, for example, Karine Jean-Pierre was accused of Hatch Act violations. You can't be an official in the Biden administration. The only exemption is the vice president and the president. But if you're an official in the Biden administration and you refer to, quote, MAGA Republicans, that's a violation of the Hatch Act. I don't understand, given the evidence that's been brought forth about the weaponization of government, if indeed there were meetings in Washington involving Merrick Garland and Alvin Bragg and Michael Colangelo and Lisa Monaco and any other DOJ officials who were coordinating these charges and indictments against President Trump, that, in my mind, would be for the purpose of interfering with the election of 2024. Campaigning is one thing. You put out a lawn sign, you send money to a preferred candidate of your choice, you make a stump speech on behalf of the preferred candidate of your choice. But if you try to assail the other candidate on behalf of the person that you're backing, then that is actually electioneering. It's politics. It's getting involved in politics, and the lawfare efforts could in fact be viewed as an attempt by President Biden through his subordinates to interfere with the electability and the chances of election of Donald J. Trump. So in the final analysis, it's surprising to me that with all the various accusations being thrown about, that no one has filed a complaint with the Office of Special Counsel about the alleged weaponization of government. That's how the charges against Kellyanne Conway and against Stephanie Grisham and other Trump administration officials got started, through complaints, letters of complaint. The Office of Special Counsel is supposedly a nonpartisan legal group working on behalf of the federal government in Washington, D.C. And the fact that as we sit here today with this issue sitting out there so patently that needs to be addressed, the first way to do that is to cite all of the evidence that's been gathered and to file a complaint under the Hatch Act with the Office of Special Counsel and see whether or not there's a determination made that these efforts in the Department of Justice to bring the lawfare charges against President Trump would constitute violations of the 1939 Hatch Act, as set forth in 5 United States Code, Section 7324. Now, hopefully, this will be brought up during the debate, because I know we're going to hear about the weaponization of government, and I think that the Hatch Act issue has to be addressed. Hopefully, Jim Jordan will bring it up, and the Congress will take action on the Hatch Act.